I was in the military for 27 years, so I got plenty of shots. Here we go.
Retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel Kent Morrison was a longtime leader who is now many years into Parkinson's disease.
7, 8.
He is still serving his fellow man.
Stand up if you can.
By driving 3 hours from his home in South Georgia to take part in a clinical trial at Emory University in Atlanta. There are dozens of symptoms associated with Parkinson's, and this trial is to investigate one of them.
Go ahead and have a seat.
Freezing of gait.
And let me do some calibration work here.
My brain says it's time to take a step, time to move forward. The feet will not comply. They lock. I mean, it's like they're glued to the ground. They lock up hard. So the body's saying, let's go. And everything wants to go to the feet. So then I have a tendency to fall if I'm not careful. But that's as simple as it. They just stop working. The brain and the feet cannot talk anymore.
Okay, good. Now do this. It's one of the big unmet needs for Parkinson's. We don't understand it. It causes falls, injuries, and as the disease progresses, it gets worse. And we don't have anything for it to help it.
Neurologist Stuart Factor is the director of the Movement Disorder Program at Emory.
This is where we just look at your balance, so you just stand.
In a career that has included 50 studies and more than 300 published papers, Factor's focus right now is on freezing of gait.
We found what we think is a biomarker for freezing to actually possibly predict freezing.
That biomarker is amyloid, a protein that can misfold and clump together, forming plaques in the brain. Amyloid clumping is a hallmark of Alzheimer's disease, disrupting brain cell function and causing memory loss and cognitive decline. Amyloid changes are also present in other diseases like Parkinson's.
We did spinal taps on a portion of our freezing patients to look at markers. And what we found was that amyloid in Parkinson patients with freezing goes up, and in Parkinson patients without freezing goes down. And there was a big difference. It wasn't like a close difference between the groups.
Yeah, so you're kind of tapering off, and then
Working with J. Lucas McKay, a Georgia Tech electrical engineer who is now the data science director of the Emory Brain Health Center Motion Analysis Laboratory.
We can make the computer do that.
The two have combined their expertise to take research to the next level.
He was able to do a lot of the statistical work that we needed. One of the hardest parts about freezing is it's unpredictable. So when you try to measure it, it's really hard to measure. And you really need technology like this to measure it.
McKay is the co-director of the Motion Analysis Lab.
We like to say it is a full-body behavioral testing facility. I think it is the only one of its kind in the United States that we use for clinical purposes.
Put those right down kind of by your brow.
This pilot study is called Flicker and plans for 24 participants. Half of the participants will receive the real thing, and the other half will receive a placebo. They will use it every day for 6 months.
You wear headphones, and they wear these glasses, and within the glasses, the light flickers at 40 hertz, and there's clicking in the headphones at 40 hertz.
Animal studies have found that being exposed to this light and sound reduces levels of amyloid in the brain.
We have them put on the device, and they go get an EEG, and we look to see that the 40 hertz that they're exposed to is actually entraining their brain waves, so that their brain is affected by that. And then they wear the device for 1 hour a day.
Hello, how are you?
At the beginning and end of the study, participants do blood work,
Of course. Yes.
cognitive testing,
You see it turn in a circle.
clinical exams with Dr. Factor,
I'm going to measure again, make sure we're at the right spot.
and receive EEGs.
We instrument folks like a Christmas tree. They're called retroreflective markers.
They also spend time in the Motion Analysis Lab.
12 motion capture cameras and 3 simultaneous wide view video cameras.
doing a series of evaluations or examinations that are measured in a way that is far more precise than the human eye.
Basically, there's little spheres covered with 3M reflective tape. We put them all over the body. There's cameras all over the room that project a very specific frequency of light that reflects back into the cameras, and then the software triangulates the positions of the markers. Then we use the positions of the markers to estimate where the body is in 3D space. It's the gold standard of accuracy.
Okay, go ahead.
The goal of the flicker study is to see if it affects freezing or the levels of amyloid. The hope is that both are decreased.
I love being a Marine. I just loved. I joined the Marine Corps when I was 17 years old. Miss it every day. I was very fortunate. You know, I didn't have to kill and hurt people. And, you know, I did humanitarian missions.
Kent and his wife Christine met in college and have 3 sons. He was serving as the executive director of the Marine Corps Logistics Base in Albany, Georgia, when symptoms began in 2015.
Mainly was just his flat affect. He didn't have a big smile like he always had, and his face just didn't have that expression.
And I started stuttering. I mean, I used to give speeches all over, you know. So, but I started speaking, I started drooling. Very embarrassing.
While Kent's Parkinson's has advanced, he still plays his drums and travels to see his children and volunteers for research.
But I've been given so much, therefore I want to give back to help mankind.
You feel anything?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to start.
Kent volunteered to undergo lumbar punctures at the beginning and end of the study. This is when CSF, cerebral spinal fluid, is collected.
About 20 cc's.
Kent's amyloid levels before and after will be measured.
Didn't feel a thing, right?
And so will a related neurotransmitter, norepinephrine.
What we found was the people with the highest amyloid had the lowest norepinephrine.
In Alzheimer's disease, norepinephrine drops and amyloid goes up in the brain. The hope is to create or use existing drugs to boost levels of norepinephrine.
So I'm just gonna push these electrodes into the little cap.
This is the end of the study for Kent. Since he doesn't know if he had the real flicker or the placebo, he will go home with the real one and use it for several months.
Capture started.
What researchers are discovering in this cutting-edge motion lab is the most precise way developed to measure human movement, a remarkable blend of clinical expertise, advanced technology, digital innovation, and AI.
What gets me going is the idea of using machine learning and things like that to replicate what they do. And I'd really like to take the measurements that we use in the lab and translate them to something you could do in sort of like with a mobile phone.
The goal is to create an app that could be used by physicians who could record their patients.
Or the primary doctor could even do a video of the walking.
Right now, neurologists do clinical exams using the Unified Parkinson's Disease Rating Scale. The exam covers symptoms like tremor, stiffness, and walking, daily living skills like dressing and eating, and issues like mood or sleep problems. Each symptom is rated 0 to 4, and the scores are totaled to track the progression of the disease over time.
What we'd like to do with the data in the lab is to look at one domain at a time and measure it very precisely, and then train a computer to look at it. We can use AI, ML to basically take a recording like we have in the lab and turn it into one of those scores that the neurologist does.
Kent Morrison is living with a disease that is a relentless thief, but he doesn't see it that way. This was his answer when we asked him how his life is today.
It's perfect because I tell myself it's perfect. I make it perfect. You know, your mind is your best medicine. So I tell myself, people say, how you doing? And I'll say, I'm doing great.